got the job done with another clean sheet. It's quite an extraordinary record they're building defensively. Only Manchester City have more this season. It's up to 13 now. Jamie, honestly, did you see this defensive transformation coming?
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, I watched Aston Villa sort of last season, and I was convinced they would go down. I must say that. And we'll get to that shortly. But you're talking about clean sheets this season. They got a clean sheet at the weekend away from home. And just this graphic I'm looking at now, they've got more clean sheets than anybody in the major European leagues. And you see the company they're keeping, PSG, Lille, Barcelona. But actually look underneath that, last season, and that's why I said I was certain they would go down last season. They didn't keep one clean sheet away from home last season. You see one of only two teams in the major European leagues. You see the names there, some great names. Eintracht Frankfurt, Valencia, Montpellier. I mean, just love saying these type of names, actually. Looks great on the graphic. But to go from that to where they are now, what's changed? And I just want to look at them last season. And Pepe Reina came in last season. And obviously still know him well, still speak to him. And I said, you're going to be very busy. Aston Villa last season weren't playing football, they were playing basketball. I mean, there must have been 20, 30 shots in every game they played, end to end, really open, going for games. And what sums it up is this game that they lost 1-0 to Crystal Palace. This is in August. So don't forget, going away to Palace, 0-0 away from home, not a bad point. But they find themselves with lots of bodies going forward. Then on the counter-attack, and you find yourself with Jack Grealish as your right-sided centre-back. I mean, it's 0-0. Early on the season, you take your point, don't you? Mm-hmm. Certainly for a newly promoted team. But this summed Villa up, basically, last season. They lose the game 1-0. Not great defending there. Could do better. And one of, I think, the 3 or 4 goalkeepers they had last season. This, again, is in the first half of the game. This is at 0-0. Diving in. Centre-back in the wrong position. And we'll get to centre-back because I think that's been a big turnaround. Goalkeeper, again, not great. And I go back to the last game before lockdown. This is a game we did on Monday Night Football. And this, again, highlights the problems defensively, but also in goal. My mate Pepe Reina, I hope he's not watching. But as I said, we did this on the Monday Night Football. It was the last game before lockdown. And
they were fun to watch.
They were. It was a great watch. But what I would say, I think without lockdown, I think Aston Villa are in the Championship. I really do. Mm-hmm. Last season. I think lockdown was not great for anyone. We all know that. But I think Dean Smith used that, and Aston Villa used it better than anybody. Mm-hmm. Because when they came back, it almost looked like a different team.
Yeah.
So I think they were studying different teams, how they went about it. Maybe Liverpool at the time. I think Napoli got mentioned. They were speaking to the players 1v1. I'm sure other clubs were doing all this as well. Really, I think a big change for them was maybe going 4-2-3-1, 2 sitting players instead of 4-3-3. I think maybe Jack Grealish going as part of the front three, great player, but not century, and trying to make themselves more solid. And you look at the stats. Now, this is the stats on the left-hand side are basically up until lockdown, and on the right-hand side are from lockdown to now. So it's not just this season, if you like. Now, goals conceded, they are the worst in the league before lockdown. Clean sheets, the worst in the Premier League. Away clean sheets again, the worst in the Premier League. The save ratio, not great. As I said, they had 3 or 4 different goalkeepers. And it wasn't bad luck when you look at the XG against per game, the worst in the league. So that shows how open these games were. Possession won in the final third, one of the worst in the league. And that for me is one of the big turnarounds. But you look at the difference this season. Goals conceded 3rd in the league, clean sheet 2nd, away clean sheet 2nd, save ratio, that is a huge difference. We'll get to that shortly. XG against per game, one of the best in the league, and this is a huge thing. So you think of what the manager's done. I've just said 4-2-3-1, maybe moving Jack Grealish forward. I think this is huge. I think this season we talk about basically a lot of teams not pressing as well because of different reasons. Villa have made the biggest jump in terms of pressing and winning the ball in the final third to actually where they are now. So a huge jump, completely different. So again, the role of the manager. What they've also done is, I think, a big help, and I go back to the save ratio. The goalkeeper's made a massive difference, an extra 10% in terms of saves. And a player I just want to highlight as well, Konza, alongside Konsa alongside Tyrone Mings. That and the goalkeeper, that triangle, I just think it's been huge for them. And Konsa, a player who's made more blocks in the Premier League this season, a brilliant defender. And I think he's made a huge difference. I think as a partnership, they've played together more than anyone else in the Premier League, so very consistent. And this just summed it up, I felt, in the another clean sheet he kept at Leeds. And I just see this guy here, I'm talking about Konsa. He knows he's coming inside to take the shot. Look at that, throws his body at it. The reaction of the goalkeeper as well, that sums them up really. And just this was in the 86th minute. I was watching the game back again. And again, I look at Konsa, and I'm honestly, I can't talk enough how impressed I've been with him defensively. He doesn't do silly things, and this sums it up really. So he's very brave at getting the blocks in. Just trying to slow this down. So he knows a cross is going to come in. Perfect position with Bamford just half a yard ahead of him. He knows where he is and he can get to the ball first. When it drops there, now, so it's a poor touch and he jumps on it. But how often do you see a defender go flying in and give a penalty away there? I've said this before on this show, as a defender, don't make tackles in the box, block shots, be there, make yourself big. And this is what he does. He doesn't make a tackle. He just stands there. What's the attacker going to do? Poor touch. And then look at that, cool, composed, 4 minutes to go, 1-0 up away from home. And I think, obviously, through the team, Ollie Watkins is doing a lot more in terms of winning the ball higher up. But I think this is a real pat on the back for the coaching team of Dean Smith, also John Terry. You think of it with Konsa, no one better than John Terry as a centre-back to work with, the best we've seen in the Premier League. Craig Shakespeare as well has come in. And I think that's a sort of top marks for a coaching setup, and also when you bring players in and get the signings right and the contrast you can see. So going from the worst in Europe to the best in Europe, I think that's what we're seeing.